My current research area is on the history of non-human animals in Canadian cities. And I'm attempting to study the history of urban development in the 19th and 20th centuries by looking at cities as multi-species environments in which humans and non-human animals cohabit shared space. This particular talk is about a section of that project on the Great Epizootic of 1872-73, which is a relatively unknown epizootic of equine influenza. That's an epidemic of an animal disease, which took place between October 1872 to roughly June 1873. And it was a continent-wide epizootic that spread across North America, and even in some instances as far south as Central America and South America. Up until recently, the only major historical document that I had to try and explain the course of this epizootic and its impact on horses in North America was a report by James Law, a professor of veterinary sciences from Cornell University, who produced this report for the US Department of Agriculture. And he made an interesting remark in the report. He said that the first cases of the epizootic occurred in the townships of York, Scarborough, and Markham, 15 miles to the north of the city of Toronto. This was fantastic since my research is on Canada, and so it led me to ask the following questions. What were the origins of the 1872 Great Epizootic? What impact did the epizootic have on Canadian cities? What can the history of this epizootic tell us about 19th century urban environments in Canada and the role of domestic animals within those environments? My discovery recently was an 1873 edition of a veterinary guide called Diseases of the Horse and Cattle and Sheep, which included an additional appendix from the previous edition that was titled Treatment of the Late Epizootic Influenza, or the Canadian Horse Distemper. This was written by Dr. Andrew Smith, the principal of the Ontario Veterinary College in Toronto, and the document helped me begin to answer some of my research questions. First, the epizootic did indeed originate in the townships surrounding Toronto and broke out at first in the stables of the Toronto Street Railway Corporation in October 1872, on the 1st of October. Secondly, I was able to determine that the disease was seen as simultaneously devastating and also benign. Smith wrote, quote, "This disease, although it has created considerable excitement and alarm, and has proved to be of considerable loss and annoyance to the owners of horses and to the community generally, is not, under proper treatment, to be attended with any great fatality. It will run a certain course, and as far as I have had the opportunity of judging, it will take from 10 to 30 days, according to the severity of the attack, before an animal completely recovers." So the disease was extremely disruptive because it immobilized urban horses for a period between 2 to 4 weeks. And so it shut down the street railway systems in Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Halifax for a brief period of time, creating great disruption to the lives of urban dwellers who relied on these horses for transportation and shipping. But it was also benign. It wasn't a fatal disease. These horses didn't die en masse. They were just sick for a short period of time. And so I think this underlines the significance of these animals to the functioning of a 19th century city. Finally, I think the report reveals some significance about the disease itself, that it was distinctly urban in character. The disease was transmitted through the transportation of hauling horses for street railway companies from city to city. And the disease itself was a crowd disease, only possible to disseminate in situations where thousands of horses cohabitate confined spaces, like a street railway stable, in which you would have 2,000 to 3,000 horses all in an enormous multi-story stable. So this disease was unique to an urban environment, and it suggests that cities in the 19th century created environments in which new diseases could emerge that might give us clues and understandings of how it is that epizootic diseases spread in the present among animals held in confined spaces, including avian influenza and swine flu. This document has provided me with leads to further research on this topic to better understand both the Great Epizootic and the role of animals in the development of Canadian cities in the 19th century.